Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And in today's stream, I'm going to be working on my second pass in this animation I'm working on. I have to work on not this concept. I have to work on this character. I have to tie down her design elements because I already got the raw motion for the model, and now I just need to do stuff like her top, her bracelets, her hat and hair, and her eyes and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the majority of what I'm going to be doing in this stream. And so I do hope you all are patient enough to, I guess, sit with me while I work. And then I can chat about nothing. Well, not really chat about nothing. More like just focus on my animation while you guys do all the talking. So I'm doing this thing where I draw these segments of where the fingers are. At the very least, the base, so then it's easier for me to remain consistent with things like my sizing or the overall shape of what it is I'm animating. Because usually, when you're doing your first pass, what happens is you just get the general impression, or rather, the general concept isn't the right word either. But basically, you're getting the overall shape and depth of what it is you're drawing. It's only when you do your second pass is when you go back through, and that's when you add more detail. So I would definitely say this is the most, maybe not the fun part, but the first pass is definitely the easiest. Then, when it comes to your second pass where you're adding more detail, that's when it's not necessarily hard, but it does become more time consuming. And that's why animation takes so long, is because you are trying to make sure that not only are you getting more details like your eyes, nose, mouth, like your actual fingers and articles of clothing, but you also have to make sure that what you're drawing is consistent as well. Now, what I'm gonna do is kind of, I guess one could call it cheap, but when you are animating, sort of your when you're animating, the one thing you want to do is make sure that sizing and everything is consistent. So, at least what I do is I will actually redraw the head from the previous onion skin layer, and I will just transfer it over or like move it slightly. Because that's like the strange thing is unless you're really going into like your squash and stretch and like really playing with the sizes of things, for the most part, especially when it comes to more humanoid styles of animation and just art in general, the actual face does not really change that much. Now, what I will say is when it comes to like Arcane League of Legends, they actually played a lot with facial structure because you see it mainly in how Jinx, the character Jinx from Arcane, is animated. Is she will have slight moments where like her facial structure as Powder is different from her facial structure as Jinx, and there's sort of like moments where her personality shifts and her entire facial structure will also shift with it, which is like a really fun way to play with character models and with character design. But for the most part, unless there's like some special reason, like say a certain power or like a certain magic or ability that the character may have, for the most part, the character's body, or at least the character's head in particular, doesn't really change much. Because actual displays of emotion are separate from entire like reconstructions or entire shiftings and augmentations of a person's facial structure. Shit. That's a really bad thing that happens is sometimes, and that's one of the reasons why I have my own irksomes with Adobe Anime, and it may just be because I do like a lot of chicken scratch when I'm drawing. But there's like this really bad thing that happens with Adobe Animate, and it's like this entire, I don't know, glitch, I guess, where if you make too many hash marks, what the software does is it will actually erase entire portions of what it is you're animating. And so it's kind of hard, at least for me, to sort of differentiate, and it's hard for animators in general, especially those who try to use Adobe Animate or want to make Adobe Animate their main software, is as much issues as people who make chicken scratch get, and how people who are other types of artists and other types of animators try to dissuade people from doing chicken scratch, is that chicken scratch is very much the defining motions, or rather the defining, that chicken scratch that you draw is really the defining motions, or like the defining it creates the defining lines that build the entire structure of what it is you're drawing and animating. And so to have that issue in a software can be definitely dissuading. But one of the things that's so great about Adobe Animate as a software that I use is the fact of its compatibility. Like Adobe Animate, because its file type is .flash, it allows people who are artists and who are animators to easily transfer their raw files into other software. It allows for the most flexibility and the most, what's the word? But not just flexibility, it also allows for the most manipulation when you're working on projects. Because in most compositors, if they were to use a different software, many softwares don't allow you to convert to .flash, which is what keeps every single layer, every single color, it keeps a catalog of everything you're doing in those raw work files like .flash, .psd, .ai, which is Adobe Illustrator. Like those raw files you can then take into another Adobe software and easily manipulate it and adjust it, and it keeps everything consistent. And that's why Adobe Animate is my preferred software when I'm transferring over to composite my animation and add things like colors or effects or different blurs and masking layers. Like it's Adobe is really, really good for stuff like that. So like in a perfect world, you would be able to just transfer any file. In a perfect world, you would be able to have your wait a second. I believe there's a selection brush tool or like a no, dang, that's actually in what's that software called? Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to do is ensure that it is just the head I'm selecting and not the other elements, but I may just have to cut my losses and like shift the head the way I want it to. And then I'll take my brush tool and I'll just redraw it. That's another thing that you're going to learn as you continue animating is that sometimes you'll just have to figure out what it is you need to be drawing and working on in the moment. Because sometimes you're going to want to draw that hand, other times you may want to draw the head first. I know a big thing in animation is many animators, from what I've learned and from who I've interacted with, what they'll do is they'll only work on the body, and then the head will be something that they work on or focus on completely afterwards or completely later. And I'm like, how do you do that? Because at least when it comes to like drawing, if you were to do digital art or character design, sometimes you need to draw the head first because the head is what establishes your proportions. It's how you decide if somebody has a big chest or a broad chest, or if they have like extra wide thighs, or if they don't. Because we work in something, especially in the art community, is we work in something that's known as head heights. And on average, your your whole body is divided by the size of your head. And so you can say from the top of your head to your chin, the top of your head to the bottom of your chin consists of one head height, excluding your hair. So the size of your hair is not involved. And so then from that one head height, if you were to go one head height down, then from your chin to say like the midpoint of your sternum, that's a second head height. And then people typically play with distance and they play with size within that. So then afterwards, you can be like from your sternum to your belly button, that can be either half a head height. So from the top of your head to like your eyes or your nose, and that'll be like half a head height. Or for like extra tall or extra long people, then from their sternum to say their pelvis or like the top of their groin, that's where you have a whole head height. And then usually the pelvis in and of itself is half a head height. So say like the top of your head to your nose, like that's going to be its own thing. And then usually your upper legs, so like the size of your femur, is going to be two head heights long. And then your ankles is going to be another two head heights long. So most people, I would say the base is most characters are five head heights tall. And then sometimes people augment it to where if it's a large character, they may be 6 or 7 head heights, or maybe 6.5. For short characters, especially like child characters and child models, they're typically 4 to 4.5 head heights long. But it's really just a game of playing with size and playing with proportion. Because there's definitely a lot you can do. And there's definitely a lot of fun that goes into the whole artistic process of like giving life to people and giving life to characters. These characters that you create, these ideas and these stories that almost live rent free in your mind. Like there is a power to it. And like this may be my more spiritual side and more spiritual self, but I truly believe that art and the ability to create art has to be a gift from God. Like it just has to be in my mind, because if you actually because if you actually think about it, like artists are creating worlds. Like yeah, I know it sounds kind of silly, but like artists are literally creating worlds. They're creating lenses by which the possibility of creation is made manifest. And I know that was like a lot of word vomit, but I'm at a blank for words. There's no other way I can describe it other than the amount of gymnastics and thought process that goes into creating these characters and wanting to depict dynamic characters. It's truly a gift. Truly a gift. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I do feel alone. Like sometimes I do wish I was bigger than I am. Sometimes I do wish that I could just find other black artists and black animators, and then I can just create a series, crowdfund or crowdsource for an animated series, and have my own projects and give jobs to the thousands of black boys and black girls who were the awkward kids in school who just wanted to draw all day. But that hasn't happened. Not to say it'll never happen, but I'll be real. Like, there's probably gonna have to be some shifting or some changing or some changes of mentalities and humanity. Like, at present, I'm just stuck in the role of a visionary. I see the future, but I have no means of actually making it a reality or a possibility for myself. And really, the one saving grace I have or may have is the simple fact that I'm a man of faith. So I do believe to an extent that maybe, perhaps maybe, something good is coming along the corner that I just haven't seen for myself yet. I'm actually doing this little thing with the pants leg where it runs a little bit and it shifts because of the motion that I'm going for. Her leg is actually turning as she sort of like charges her attack and goes to fire it off. I would say that my goal for this stream is to at least get this 1, 2, 3 3 second segment down. Like, that's my main goal. And there's actually a lot of frames I have to draw. But by the power and will of God, this is what I chose. So all I can say is, God, stick by me and help me keep this animation looking good and consistent. And you see, now I see why many animators try to simplify what it is they're drawing. Like, you don't see many animators drawing like every single excruciating detail of like shoes unless it's required. And then because I am a small creator and it's just me doing all the animation, I kind of have to be mindful of myself and sort of make sure that I'm not putting too much pressure on myself, cuz that's exactly what, and I'm talking from experience. A lot of animators put a lot of pressure on themselves where they're just one person and they're trying to do the work of a whole studio. And it's that double-edged sword of, yes, you need to show studios that you have the skill and they should hire you, and you want to show your skill and you also have your ideas for your own projects. But also, in that same vein, there's just some things that a team can do that you as an individual can't do. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling, but it's also sad because you have to figure out, what can I do that's going to land me the job versus what is it am I able to do with the skills and abilities I have now. It's finding that middle ground, and many people either can't find that middle ground or they struggle with finding that middle ground. And that's what sometimes leads to burnout. It's sad to say, but there are many artists, there are many animators that burnt out. And I've definitely, and I'm no exception. Like, I'll be the first one to admit my own shortcomings. Like, folks, I have burnt out. I have been angry. I have been envious. There were times where I looked at other people's, especially other animators and artists' success, and I'm like, dang God, like why can't something just go right for me? Like, why can't I just get this job? Why can't things just finally take off for me? And like, I'm able to be self-actualized and self-reflect in that way where like I've been angry at people who likely don't even know I exist. I've been envious towards people who have gotten farther than me. And I'm not gonna lie, like there's still moments where I'm angry because I'm still not where I want to be. And so I have to be careful, be mindful. And sometimes when people hear me, when somebody hears a person say this, it can kind of sound like being lazy. But like in many ways, yes, I do very much have to hold fast to God, to the person, to the entity I believe in, because like that stuff is real. Like envy will have you at a place you thought you weren't able to go. Envy will have you plotting on folks. Envy will have you in a negative mindset where you think just nothing will go right in your life because you're constantly comparing yourself to other people. And I'm still able to be real with myself and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm still angry. Yeah, I'm still not where I want to be in life. And I've done prayed to God. I've done made content. I've done everything. There were times in my life where I felt like an entire NPC in my own life or that God has abandoned me. But despite everything, I'm still breathing. Despite everything, I'm still kicking. Despite everything, I'm still trying because I still have that vision for myself. I still have that hope, that desire, that I just want to be in a place where things finally go right and things finally take off for myself. And that in and of itself is not a wrong or unrighteous feeling to have because that's pretty much everybody. Like I'm not really unique in that sense where everybody could make the excuse or everyone could make the point that everything they've done, good and bad, is from the desire of just wanting things to finally go right. And so they shouldn't be destroyed for that. They shouldn't be judged for that. Their life shouldn't go to shit just because at the core of their being, they just wanted things to finally go right. It's how you go about wanting things to go right, which is where the danger comes because you can fall into escapism, you can fall into doing things and playing into behaviors or mentalities you shouldn't have. It's a danger. It's a real danger. But I guess the simple fact that it is a danger is really what helps people reflect back onto themselves. And many people need that. Many people need someone be they friends, family, or even a loved one. Everyone needs that person that's going to help them reflect back on themselves, their actions, feelings, and desires. Could it be because I'm pressing it too hard? You see, even when I make those singular lines, it's still like that autofill that happens. And I don't know why or how that keeps happening. I may just need to like, because you see, that time I drew softly and it's still autofilled. I do want to look this up online real quick, that maybe it's something I'm doing. Shoot, because it's very interesting that Adobe Animate keeps autofilling whenever I'm drawing. Because, like, I'll do slow, thick lines and it'll autofill. Or else I'll do, like, I'll press lightly and it'll still autofill. I mean, maybe it's in the brush settings. Because this is a classic brush. Object drawing mode, brush mode, use tilt, use pressure. Wow, so this glitch is like 4 years old. Apparently, because Adobe Animate is vector based, it has glitches where it will autofill. It's kind of sad that that happens because Adobe products are just so versatile. That's really the sad part I'm getting out of this is like Adobe products, they're so versatile for animation and it allows people to hold on a second. My mind just blanked because I'm thinking like 5 frames ahead and I'm trying to. So, specifically, this is the frame where the head shifts. Okay. But yeah. Adobe products are so versatile because it allows the users to just easily and seamlessly transfer files from one program to another, and not just like final products, but you can literally transfer like the actual raw file that you've been drawing on and that you've been working on to other softwares and to other programs in the Adobe umbrella, allowing you to pretty much composite fully until you finally want to make that final product. Like it's Adobe has managed to be industry standard not just because of the quality of its programs, but because of the versatility of its programs. Like you could, and that's the thing, is like a lot of these work files are maybe a few kilobytes big, which is like really small, or at most, like I want to say maybe 36 to sometimes even 40 megabytes. I know if you're working on an animation, that's when the size gets a bit bigger to where you can have like almost 100 something megabytes. But for the most part, it's pretty easy and it's pretty storage efficient. So then, say if I was an animator and I need, so say if I was an in betweener and I needed to send this file to send this to like a colorer or someone who does like final tie downs, then I could just send them the raw work file that I was working on through an email of all things, and it would not exceed the sizing limits for emails. It would be pretty cheap storage wise. And so people would be able to, I could send this to like two or three different people and they can review it. They can edit it themselves if they have any Adobe software. They can color it. They can adjust my raw work files. And then it would be easy and practically seamless to work between the different stages of the animation process, and not just the animation process, but the entire production process and pipeline. Like Adobe is a king when it comes to industry standard because of that. And it's kind of sad because I also heard stories about Adobe um I'm blanking on the actual term, but like Adobe is ceasing production and work on Adobe Animate. At least that's what I heard. I think they kind of walked it back, but I'm not really 100% sure of the validity of that. But that's also why I've been trying to learn other animation softwares, especially other open source animation softwares like Blender and OpenTunes, because despite everything, I still want to animate. I just got the bundle because it allows me to be a content creator and like edit my videos, create my art, XYZ, XYZ. So then I can handle my voice myself. Cause that's a really big thing that I'm a proponent of is I believe in handling my own narrative. I believe in being a jack of all trades so that I can control at least the content I personally put out there. And so something fun I would love to do, but this is just me again being a visionary because like I don't have a job right now and I don't have any means of like making money or doing any sort of community outreach. But like long term, I would actually like to make or like do some sort of art or creative program for young black men and young black women. Like not just about like I want to teach them the principles of art and the principles of the art design creative process. I definitely think it would be fun. That's another thing. Playing with my zoom in and zoom out. Like, sometimes you do have to zoom out just so you can see the full picture of what it is you're drawing, working on and animating. Because that's a really bad habit I personally picked up on, like, over time, is like sometimes I'll be drawing or animating and I'll stay zoomed in to where I don't see what it is I'm working on. Because if I'm being honest, I think, and I like to think like 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. But essentially, what's going to happen with this animation is after I'm done with this second pass and like adding more details, I'll probably end up drawing, at least for this particular 3 second segment, the body is going to be on its own layer. And then the head and the facial features are going to be on their own layers. Essentially, separating, not necessarily separating the character, but separating, but splitting up my animation so that it is not as time consuming. Because, like, when you're animating and when you're working on different art, there's actually a lot of stuff that goes on in your mind subconsciously where you're taking mental notes of certain things and you're trying to figure out what it is you're going to be doing for your next step, where you are looking and seeing, okay, I can break this up, I can make this easier, let me make sure I'm adding this or doing that. There's a lot of, and it's kind of silly because many artists don't really get their praise, but there is a lot of mental gymnastics and like mental fidangling you have to do when you're making art. Art is its own art is its own science in and of itself. Like, that's really all that I can say. And you know what's really hitting me right now is the fact that I'm also on a fast right now. So like I'm doing like a day fast. So it's like I'm hungry, but I'm also using like a lot of my brain power to figure out how this animation is going to look and how it's going to be. And then on top of that, I also went on a jog earlier this morning too. So it's like you're fasting, you're jogging, you're it's a lot. I actually used to fast. I wouldn't say I fasted often, but what I would do is sometimes whenever I felt the conviction or whenever I felt like I was losing my connection, I would do a day fast. And I would just spend like the next day or whatever day I was called to fast. And I would just not eat anything. And during that time, I would like pray so that I can feel myself regain the connection I felt was damaged or I felt I lost. But honestly, I don't think I could ever be a preacher. I just don't. And like there is something special about preachers, I will say that, but for me, I'm able to see that it sounds kind of silly, but to me, I'm able to see myself as being the one meant to bring creativity back to faith. Because all I can say, and like this is gonna get into like some stuff that I studied. I mean, I made a whole video about it. Like it's like a really old video on my channel. I can bring it up real quick. But there was like this really old video I made on my channel. And it's called, and it was actually what you call it? It was like a video essay. It was a capstone project for college where I was talking about animation as a medium and like the loss of animation as a medium. Well, here it is. And actually, I think what I might do is I might actually clip this old video so that I can show it to people or like maybe turn it into like some YouTube shorts. Let me see here if I can. So here it is right here. The origin of cartoons are made for kids, a Western mentality. And it was a whole video essay I did while I was in college where I went over like the socio-political and economic like time period and the evolution of art as a medium. And it's kind of sad because like this is a 25-minute long video and I only got 230 views. And then it's like I be seeing other people's essays and they get like 1,000 views and I'm like, dang, but I worked so hard on this and I put so much work into the research and it don't matter. This is just my feelings, okay? Like I'm just in my feelings at the moment. I have to realize that people have slow growth for a reason. But that video is like 4 years old now. Because I remember releasing it in 2022. Yeah, that video is like 4 years old. Yes, it was a term project to be completed over an 11-week period using our thematic core. Given my background in focusing art and animation, as well as supporting courses in anthropology, advertising, communication philosophy, and others, I chose to research American history. It is most prominent and perceived in America that animation is inherently childish. Only in America is this perception widespread, whereas in other parts of the world, animation is perceived more with neutrality. In closing, I hope you stick to the end, watch my video fully. And that was sort of like my intro, not my intro, my description for the video. But really, that video and that entire mentality has been sort of not necessarily the backbone, but it's definitely been a really big supporting factor on why I continue to pursue art as a medium. And not just art as a medium, but I choose to, and I definitely want to expand other people's respect for the arts. Like, art deserves to be respected. I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know. I'm pretty sure everyone who watches my content and who watches my videos, like, y'all know I respect the arts over here. Like, that's what we do. That's how I get down. And it's actually kind of funny because, I've definitely changed from the person I was when I was in college, but like in many ways, I've also kind of stayed the same. And it's fun and it's nice and it brings so much peace. Art, animation, the entire process brings me so much peace. And it has so much potential that so many folks just do not acknowledge. And I'm like, but it's right there. Like it. And it sounds kind of silly, but like in many ways, animation can be used to sanitize a lot of graphic media. Cause like you have like different shows and movies of like revenge movies about women getting assaulted or like horrible atrocities. And I'm like, okay, but like why would you have real actors depict this? Like why not just animate it? Or like why not have like a small cutaway segment? But no, like they especially on like different streaming services, it's like they will have haunting depictions, like it's terrible. And I'm not gonna say I'm weak-willed, but like as a dude, there are just certain things I don't really have the stomach for. And so in my mind and in my mentality, it's like you could have animated this. Like you could have chose a different medium other than live action. You could have even played with the camera because on top of like animation being my main focus, like the entire thing with media and entertainment is it's an entire curriculum. So people who are animators and people who are artists, they also take cinematography classes or they take videography classes and they learn about like camera positioning and panning and different elements of the artistic and filmmaking process like that. Which is also why I like to hold Tubi movies and like Tubi originals feet to the fire because it's like I know a guy on LinkedIn right now, he's jobless and you could have hired him to be your videographer. Like many I get the appeal and I get the power in indie film creators because it is a market that needs attention. Okay, like we do need more indie creators. We do need more independent artists and animators. We do need more people who make their own projects, especially make their own projects till it's like finalized and put out there. But it's like, get your quality up. And I'm not even saying that in a way like, oh, get your quality up and then I don't do anything. But like, I would genuinely help these people build the quality of whatever it is they're working on. Like, I'm not the kind of person that says, like, do better and then I'm not willing to help. Like, I'm actually willing to help. Like, I put my email in my videos, I put my email in my live streams. Everything I do, everything I create, I always put a way to contact me because I am always open to someone reaching out to me for help or advice or guidance, or even if I can't specifically help you, I know someone who can help you. And if you're like a black creator, or if you're someone black in film or black in art and animation, and like I can put you into contact with black people from my alma mater so that we can like bring the quality of what it is we're working on and what it is we desire to make up, because we need it. Like, I'm the person who sees and wants to foster potential. That's just how I am at my core. And so, because I do not have the financial resources to do that, at the very least, what I can do is be some type of facilitator in my own right and like put you in contact with somebody, or share my own network of like people from college, people I met from college, or people who I met from like late high school who are animators, who are cinematographers. Cause like that's another thing that people don't really acknowledge is there is such a thing as communicable skills. There is such a thing as people who may not have the skill set or the capacity to do exactly what it is you want them to do, but like there are computer scientists. Game designers are also really good coders. Artists are good UI designers. Like there's a way to get what it is you want even if the person doesn't have exactly what is listed or the exact make and model of what it is you're requiring. Like if you want to code an app, you can easily get some game designers to code an app for you. If you want your own website, you can easily get like some UI or UX designers to code a website for you. If you want to design a logo, you can easily get a character designer to make a logo for you, especially if it's a mascot logo, like a logo that involves a mascot. And people don't think that these communicable skills exist, or rather they don't acknowledge that communicable skills can be something of a benefit to people. But in the end, I'm just a guy speaking into the void. That's the, I guess you could say, burden of knowledge is you know things can be better, but I guess because of human nature or because of pride and ego, people aren't willing to listen. And it's not even a matter of like, I should stop talking about this because I feel like I've already talked about it ad infinity at this point. People will want change and they'll beg and cry to God to give them change, but when He does, they complain about how that change takes form. And like, I'll be honest, like I'm definitely not immune to that. Like I've definitely had moments and times where I've begged for change and then complained about how it looked or what form it took. But I have made strides to change myself and adjust the way I see and view things. I guess in a world where everyone preaches discernment, people have forgotten how to be meek and humble. I think those fingers can be shrunk a little bit. So I think I'm going to shrink them. Something that I do, especially in my art, is like sometimes I will draw something big just so I can make sure I have the fullness of what it is I'm drawing down. But then when I zoom out, like it would be terribly huge. And like I acknowledge that there's foreshortening happening, I also have to be mindful and cognizant of what it is I'm actually doing. Like I can't just go about making everything big because then it'll be inconsistent. So this is the last frame where I'll be able to redraw the head, and then the next frame I'm gonna have to sort of draw it shrinking. Okay, it's not too bad. And it's already been 1 hour. That's actually pretty good. Pretty good timing I'm making. But it's only been like 2 frames I've drawn. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to go back to that old video essay I did in college, and I'm going to like take. I'm gonna say 2 or 3 clips from it because I've actually had quite a bit of luck doing that. It's like sometimes what I'll do is I will take clips of the live streams I do after they're done processing, and I will turn them into YouTube shorts, and then it'll actually bring traction back to the original live stream, and people will rewatch it, which has been really good for me. I've already gone up like 5 subscribers in the past week. I'm so thankful. And I'm so happy because it feels like things are getting better and better. Hmm. I'm thinking real quick. Excuse me, I was actually checking my email, and I will say that I do think what pisses me off the most, and part of my harsh language, but I hate that ads are constantly pushing, like, get a college degree, get an education, but there are like thousands of people who are college graduates right now, and they do not have work, they cannot find jobs, or they're severely underemployed, and the pay doesn't even work towards their debt. And I'm just like, stop pushing college if you're not going to help the people who are actually college graduates. Like, this is insanity to me. And many people, especially older people, are pushing this idea or concept of just throwing everything at the wall. Like, I would say, especially in the black community, like, a lot of the elders now are trying to tell the youth to go into the trades. And it's like, don't tell these people to go into the trades if you're not about to actually hire a tradesman or a tradeswoman. Because, like, it's insanity. People don't actually know what they want. They just know what makes them feel good, or they just feel the need to say something, but they're not actually doing anything to help other people's situations. And it really irks me and it irritates me because nothing is getting done, yet you magically want things to get done. And the people who can actually get stuff done and who could actually help, you're not even assisting them. You're not even doing anything to get involved with them. It's freaking terrible, and it's freaking circle talk. It's insanity. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself a doomer because despite everything I've gone through, I still have some hope for the future. But it's like, read the room. Or, like, not necessarily read the room, but, like, cut the BS out and actually be about change. Stop adding more stuff. Stop adding extra ingredients. Like, let the soup mellow out. And it's kind of silly because that's an allegory or that's a parable, but like it's truth. It's like people keep trying to add new stuff thinking that the new stuff is going to push down the old stuff. Like, no, there's still problems at the bottom. There's still a bunch of raw ingredients and there's still seasoning at the bottom of the pot. Maybe you should stir it instead of adding more stuff, trying to see what works or trying to see what fits. Stir your damn soup. But in a sad way, I guess I'm just an optimistic nihilist, if I can even call myself that. Because, like, I see the potential in what can be, but I'm able to acknowledge that, some people are just terrible people. Some people just like complaining about change more than actually facilitating the change they want to see. And so I have to figure out what I can do with the abilities and skills that I have so that I can ensure some form or degree or modicum of peace and security for myself, because nobody else is going to see the obvious in the room. And I myself do not have the ability, capacity, or capability to facilitate the change I want to personally see. And it's like, if you can see all the issues and problems that people are having, yet you do not have the skills, ability, or even aptitude to do anything to facilitate the change you want to see, then do I deserve damnation for not being able to do anything to help or assist people? That just got like really deep, philosophical, and esoteric. Like, if I know what needs to be done and I've tried telling people, and despite doing everything I know how and everything that's within my capacity and capability to do so, and despite everything I say, preach, cry about, still nobody wants to change, then am I responsible if after a certain point I just decide to break away and not be involved with it anymore? It's certainly a head scratcher if you ask me. Because at the core of my being, I just want peace. I just want things to finally go right because I feel like I've already been working so hard and doing so much and not having any fruits for my labor. But I can't give up because giving up is just as bad. But at the end of the day, I'm just a jobless nerd who is speaking into the ether. In the grand play that is being written out before us, maybe it's a blessing in disguise to be the observer instead of someone with a role or part. Now I am going to like slightly change the shoe just a little bit because I want it to slightly shift. That's my phone. I don't know if you guys can hear the vibrator. But my phone is vibrating. I actually have it in my hand right now because I was looking something up real quick. Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to adjust the leg a little bit. That's certainly better. Because the thigh seemed a bit like off to me. That's why I said you guys in my previous stream. I said how you guys need to play with zooming in and zooming out so you can see the whole picture of what it is you're drawing. It's very easy to mess up. Yeah, these are a lot of frames to draw. Like, I definitely assumed that it would be faster than what it actually took me. But dang, like this. Dang it! These are a lot of frames. A lot of frames. It's all good. And I'm already like an hour and 30 minutes in. That's actually pretty nice. It's coming along quite nicely. Let me see. 8 views on my stream. That's actually pretty good. I like that. I was kind of hoping to like get at least this 3 second segment done, but it's actually showing off to be like quite time consuming. I don't mind it, but like Animation is very time consuming, and I realize that. Let me look at this character sheet again. Where'd it go? So yeah, I'm gonna have to be mindful of how I'm drawing the character. And I think, actually, one of the benefits of animating this segment on ones is that it allows me to be a bit more lenient with the detail I go with. Not meaning I can half ass, but it definitely means that I can have a bit more liberty with how I draw and maybe even include some smear frames that's going to help me animate faster. About right here. Because I'm trying to get that face. I'm trying to get that face right. At least when it comes to like her jaw and her mouth. Because she has that her chin is pointed like downwards and then she has like this angle for her like jaw and the side of her face. And that's really what I'm trying to go for. Is like that softness yet that subtle beauty in the character. I think I got it finally. Now, when you are animating or just working on any sort of art in general, you're gonna want to save often because you can just as easily lose, well, everything you worked on. That's something I learned the hard way, so. Now I think what I'm gonna do is use a different color for the wrist, just because I want to ensure that when I go back and I do my final pass, I'm not getting confused on where I should draw my lines, or like where certain elements are being depicted. Because that can easily happen, is when you're animating, especially when you're doing like your final pass or like your final rough or something, you can be stuck in a flow state and you'll almost merge or replace lines with something else you're seeing. So I would say, as an animator myself, just at least find certain segments where you're going to want to alter the depictions, if only slightly. So I actually had to shrink the hand a little bit, because what's happening with this figure is that their her hand, let me use the correct, she's sort of twisting her hand to almost go, hold on a second, how did I animate this? Hmm. Okay, I think this frame is actually meant to be the same, or rather, it's meant to have the same. It's meant to look the same as the previous one, so that's actually on me. But actually, a neat little thing I can do is I can actually draw slight little adjustments to her bracelets just so it can give the sense that she's still moving, if only slightly. Pretty good. And so this is the segment where the actual leg is moving more. So I'm actually going to have to keep some details in mind. And I'll just zoom out for this segment, at least when it comes to drawing the leg, because this is where I really want to keep sizing and just keep it as on model as possible. Because her body is doing a thing where it shifts, even if it's slightly. And that's really one of another downside of vector based programs is sometimes when you zoom out, it will actually register your brushstrokes as shaky and sometimes even unstable. So it's really just a balancing act of like how do you want to draw something or how are you going to go about depicting something. And that's another thing that you sort of get to play with and you sort of have leniency with is sometimes when you are shifting a character, you actually see that you can almost hide things or not even draw certain aspects of your animation because it's technically considered as behind a certain object or behind a certain area of what it is you're drawing. So, like this entire leg right here, I can actually hide it behind her other leg because of the way her clothes are designed. So, this actually saves me a lot of time and energy as an animator instead of having to draw every single individual frame. It also is what allows me to not draw her neck because technically speaking, it's hidden behind her arm. But right now, I am feeling like pretty tired and drained, so I think I'm going to stop my stream right here for the day. And I did make a lot of good time because it's actually almost 2 o'clock right now. So, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the live stream. I hope you all enjoyed my talking and chatting here and there. Again, I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays around noon. If I miss a day, then more than likely I'm going to stream the next day. Or I'll probably host like a special live stream at night. But that's it. Um, this animation is coming along quite nicely, and I'm definitely enjoying working on it. I look forward to the finished product, and I definitely look forward to the coloring aspect as well. Anyway, like I said, this has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream.